can see this is just after the second tower came down at around 10:30 this morning. You can see a sense of the thick clouds at ground level that we've been talking about all day. People just attempting to evacuate the area. That looks, well, it's difficult to tell where the fence is. It looks like it could be City Hall Park. But you can see, even at City Hall Park, which is quite far from the scene, yes, it is City Hall Park, just how thick that smoke was. And
clearly City Hall in the distance there, and that cloud of dust coming toward everybody with the collapse of that building, and it was such an entirely unexpected development, because the fire that we saw burning up at the top of the towers was one thing, but then that explosion that ripped through there, and it was not something that we expected, and dramatic to watch.
We've said this before, but at first, to see the initial impact where the two planes hit, it really seemed as though the top maybe 20% of the buildings were affected, and that was about it. And given the fact that, you know, many of us have lived through the 93 bombing, which was at the structural base of the building, it just did. I mean, I suspected that there was some structural damage, but it never occurred to me that the building would come down until I saw it coming down before my eyes.
And you had questions at that time. You know, I went through my head, is the World Trade Center going to open again, or are they going to have to clear things out and tear it down? But at that point, my head was thinking of a relatively orderly evacuation, people going down the stairs at the World Trade Center, and then we saw the first of the towers get ripped down in that explosion, and then 20 or 25 minutes later, the second.
If you think about how many flights there are, probably, how many stories were there? 113, something like that? You know, the amount of time that it would take to get down if you were anywhere in the area that was possible to, you know, which wasn't utterly destroyed. I mean, I think it would take the better part of an hour, so I have to imagine that a lot of people, even if it was an orderly evacuation, a lot of people were still in that building trying to get out of that building when it came down, in both cases.
We'll continue to look at some of this videotape. This is unedited videotape that's coming back to us from our various field crews who got down to the area of the World Trade Center, shot this videotape, and have now delivered it back here. Of course, it's difficult for us to move our live facilities in and out of there, so in some cases the easiest way for us to bring this videotape to you is actually physically to bring it back here uptown, and now back to live picture as the smoke continues to come from the area of Lower Manhattan after this terrorist attack on the World Trade Center towers.
When you think about the force involved here, I mean, when in the 93 bombing, I came to see the base of the World Trade Center 6 months after that bombing, and it was still an enormous crater. I mean, a lot had been done to restore order and to rebuild, but it was still an enormous crater, and there was still a lot of damage and a lot of buildings closed. I cannot imagine how long it will take to rebuild the physical building, I mean, to say nothing of the loss of lives.
Yogi Colonna, New York One photographer, with us again here. And Yogi, this is the scene when both towers were still standing, when we had no sense of the magnitude of this. You were in Brooklyn at that time. Mm-hmm. Were you able to see some of this from there?
Oh yes, I was. Yes, I shot some video also of it from the Brooklyn side.
And at what point, as you were making your way, as you were going across the Brooklyn Bridge, were the two towers still standing?
Oh yes, they were still standing. And then when I hit like Gold Street on the Brooklyn side, almost by the Brooklyn Bridge, like I said, people would just say, oh, look, it went down.
You can see part of the building just sort of hanging out over the edge, mm-hmm. as it had been sort of burst from within.
The footprint of both of these buildings is massive, and the infrastructure it takes to operate the buildings daily. There would be natural gas services, electrical services, water lines running through the building, and one of the things that investigators will look for is some sense of what it was that tipped off those explosions there would have been a huge amount of jet fuel on those planes as they crashed into the building, but it looked like a lot of that burned up immediately on impact. And one of the questions that will be asked is what happened up there 90 or 100 stories up that caused that catastrophic second explosion in both towers, which in the overall magnitude of this, it's that second explosion, it's the collapse of the towers that is really going to mean there is a huge death toll here. The initial impact was relatively confined compared to what we're dealing with now.
Right, and again, I don't know why I remember this fact, but in the base of the World Trade Center, there are literally dozens of steel reinforced beams, I-beams, that are the strongest, you know, that you can possibly have, and the tower was built in order to sustain strong winds because it's so tall and so thin. So to imagine the impact of these planes, given that it was already built to sustain, you know, very intense winds and blows, and that there were just dozens of these I-beams, which I mean were a foot. It's staggering to contemplate.
Yogi Cologne, we appreciate you being up here with us, and it has been a difficult morning. We thank you for
Thank
all of your efforts. Let's get on to some idea of transportation throughout the city. We've got roadways shut down, mass transit either plugged up because of the congestion in the streets, or closed entirely in the case of most subway service. A lot of people are trying to get out of some of the trouble spots by sea, and they have set up an emergency evacuation service in Lower Manhattan. For that, our Manhattan reporter Rebecca Spitz joins us from the west side with more on this exodus. Rebecca?
It is hard enough to get around Manhattan, even harder to get off of it. As we've been reporting, bridges and tunnels are closed and local highways are only open heading north. That has left thousands and thousands of people stranded, scared, and desperate to get home. We are here on Pier 84 on the west side of Manhattan at 42nd Street and 12th Avenue, where the Circle Line has turned its sightseeing cruise into a free shuttle for anyone wanting to go to Lincoln Harbor or Weehawken, New Jersey. Executives here tell us they have already ferried thousands of people across the river and expect to ferry even thousands more before the day is over. The line here stretches well beyond where I can see, and the people on it tell us it cannot move fast enough.
A lot of us from New Jersey, so we're just trying to get across the river. We were all fortunately at Midtown Manhattan today for a meeting, even though our office is downtown.
I really feel bad. I mean, I feel like I've been just slapped in the face. And I'm worried about my two nephews. As a matter of fact, today's my nephew's birthday. He's 3 years old, and I think it's a shame.
Yeah, I just, like to leave the mess behind.
Now, each boat holds between 500 and 550 people. The trips take about 10 to 15 minutes, and they're free. The Circle Line tells us it will run this service all day and all night if it has to. So if you need to go to New Jersey, you may want to head here to Pier 84 on 42nd Street and the West Side Highway. The line could take a while, but this could very well be your best bet if you need to get across the river to get home today. That's the latest from here on the West Side. I'm Rebecca Spitz. Let's go back to you.
Here comes Rebecca Spitz. This is the view a short time ago toward the World Trade Center from across the harbor on Staten Island. Thousands of people left that area, headed to Staten Island on the ferry. Many of the people there, employees in the World Trade Center who had escaped with their lives at that point.
We heard an explosion at first as I was sitting in my chair at 2 World Financial Center, and immediately after that we saw the building swaying through the windows, so we evacuated the building, and I proceeded to the water side of the building. I tried to get as far away as I possibly could, and about maybe 3 or 4 minutes after that I saw what appeared to be a 737 jet plane flying at about 100 feet off the ground, and it flew right into 2 World Trade Center. It immediately exploded into the tower, and at that point I just decided to head down for the ferry.
We were around when it happened years and years ago when the bomb went off. I obviously didn't work there, but you never thought that anything like this could ever happen again because of all the tighter security since the last terrorist act. But as you can see, obviously they can get to any place, anywhere. So it's definitely a bit surreal. And looking at it from afar, I just hope to God that everybody's all right in there. Whoever was in the building at the time, I hope that they made it out okay.
Many of the people we spoke to, like that last man, were on their way to work when they actually saw that first plane crash into the tower from the ferries they were on, they immediately turned around and headed back to Staten Island at that point.
Now also, we've been talking about the situation of schools closing. Parents should know that 3 schools in the area of the World Trade Center have been evacuated: Economics and Science, Leadership and Public Service, and Murray Bergtraum. Children from PS 89 and PS 234 are being moved to PS 41, and that is located at 116 West 11th Street. Also, students from PS 150 have been moved to PS 3, located at 490 Hudson Street. Meanwhile, PS 89, PS 234, and Stuyvesant are being used for triage. Parents and only parents may come and pick up their children there. Now, around the city, all teachers, security, and other staff members are asked to stay in the school late. Evening and after-school programs are canceled. Schools will remain open under shelter locations. Children with Metro cards will remain in the schools until the TA has restored service, and we don't know when that will be. Children on yellow buses will be able to board those buses as normal. If parents are not at drop-off locations, the children will not be dropped off, and they will be returned to the designated school districts.
So, word from the FAA now as we update this story from a national perspective. Shortly after it became clear what was happening, all 3 of the local airports were closed. Newark, Kennedy, and LaGuardia all closed at that point. And then the FAA made the decision to shut down air traffic nationwide, not allow any further takeoffs, and to start bringing planes in. The Federal Aviation Administration now saying that all commercial aircraft in U.S. skies have reached their destinations and no additional takeoffs are being permitted.
In addition to that, Canada has restricted air travel for today as well, and Greyhound Bus has suspended intercity travel throughout the country as well.
We've been talking about the fact that there is a need for blood donations, and as they try to get a handle on the situation in the area around the World Trade Center and on the number of casualties, they will be looking to have as much blood supply as possible so they can react to things. The New York Blood Center and the Red Cross have advised us about some of their efforts to collect blood, and we've got 3 locations here. The New York Blood Center is at 310 East 67th Street. If you are able to get there, particularly if you live nearby, take a moment away from the television and walk down there and see if you can help out. Also, New York Blood Services at 150 Amsterdam Avenue. That's the Red Cross facility there at 66 in Amsterdam. And they've also set up a blood donation center in Midtown at the Citicorp Center. That's 153 East 53rd Street, just trying to get that inventory of blood up so that they can react to this emergency.
And in addition to the blood, another precious resource is at risk right now, and that's mental health. And the Red Cross has asked that any qualified, certified New York mental health professionals should come as soon as possible to the Red Cross and volunteer their services, because there will be mental health counseling throughout the city at Red Cross facilities, and that is obviously something that will be required by many, many people today. As
we've been speaking to all of our reporters, they not only have their stories as they cover this developing story, but also some personal stories as New Yorkers about trying to move around the city. One of them, New York One's Davidson Golden, who had to make his way into the city to get to work and to add to our coverage of this. Davidson Golden, tell us about the morning as it's transpired for you.
Well, Pat, it was a whole crew of us from New York One. We're trying to make our way back from Westchester, back on into the city. And the first thing we can tell all the viewers that we have in Brooklyn, the Bronx, Queens, and Staten Island is they're not joking. They really do have roadblocks at all the bridges and all the access areas into the city. On the way out of the city, there are highway information signs. Actually, it's very sort of eerie, say state of emergency. On the way back in, before the roadblocks, they say police activity in Manhattan, avoid Manhattan. So for people that are trying to come in, you should really just stay at home or near where you are, because there really is no way into the city. And in fact, what we also did see is that there's a huge exodus of people walking north out of the city. We were by the First Avenue Bridge on the Bronx side. Those are the pictures you're seeing now, and it's just a steady stream of people, hundreds, probably thousands. We didn't spend all that much time there in the end, trying to make their way out of the city. For the most part, though, they're in good spirits, including one man we talked to. He walked all the way from the stock exchange where he works this morning after seeing the explosion.
And I stood right across the street. I'm looking, and I heard the roar, and all of a sudden I saw this plane. I mean, it was right there.
Well, there were also some other people that we talked to coming off the bridge, and we asked about their experiences. We had people walking from the west side in the 30s, people walking from the 20s on the east side. And across the board, they had the same story to tell, which is, so they described it as a parade of people walking through the city. And I think we have some more sound from some of them as well.
We have been walking for an hour over here. It's like really treacherous. My feet is hurting, but we have to do it the best way we know how, because there was no subways running and no buses.
It's crowds. It looks like another parade. I can't give you the amount of people that are walking downtown, but there's tons of people coming uptown from down there. It's very messy down there right now.
And New York One's Davidson Golden telling us the story about his trip into the city and the way that New Yorkers are pulling together here. He talked about the roadblocks on the streets, and though it's outside of our New York One viewing area, it just gives you an illustration of how widespread the impact of this is. From Suffolk County Police, the Long Island Expressway is being closed westbound at exit 61. You make that trip out that way quite regularly. Exit 61 is some 60 or 70 miles out onto Long Island, I think.
Yes, that's it's amazing that it would be closed from that far out. Obviously, you know, we've been talking about these concentric rings around the city, stretching out from the epicenter of where the World Trade Centers were, and those rings are getting larger and larger as the reality of this disaster is setting in.
On the phone with us from the MTA to give us an idea of what is going on in terms of buses and particularly subways in the city is Tom Kelly of the MTA. Tom, are you with me?
Yes, I am.
Tom, just if you can give me the status report to begin with. What have we got as far as subway service?
Fine. We have resumed service on the A, B, C, D, E, F, J, M, L, and the number 5 and the number 7 trains. All of them are running now, and we are urging people to take them to head out of the Manhattan area. We have not resumed service yet on the 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 9 train because of AC and DC problems affecting both the tracks and the power to the trains. Buses are operating in Manhattan above Houston Street, and they're running in the other 4 boroughs fine, but are experiencing, obviously, traffic backups. Penn Station is open. We have limited eastbound service out of Manhattan, as well as Grand Central Terminal is open, also with limited service out of Grand Central. On the Long Island Railroad, Atlantic Terminal in Brooklyn and Hunters Point in Queens are up and operational. Any trains on either the subway or the Long Island Railroad and Metro North are discharging all passengers prior to coming into Manhattan. However, anyone that is employed in the emergency area, such as police, firefighters, doctors, National Guard members, or anybody like that coming in, should identify themselves to train crews, and they will be permitted to stay on the train and into Manhattan. We have opened all bridges and tunnels outbound from Manhattan, and as well as 1 lane into the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel for outbound traffic only. There was a large tie-up on the Verrazano because of the bridge closings going from Staten Island to New Jersey, but my understanding now is that that has been open. And at the governor's direction, we have lifted the toll gates on our bridges and tunnels, as well as we won't be seeking tickets for either Long Island Railroad Metro North or the city subway system from the area around the area affected, either Grand Central, Penn Station, or the subway stations in the area along down near the World Trade Center.
Tom, do you have any indication of the integrity of the structure on the tracks on the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 9 trains? I mean, the 1, 2, the 1 and the 9 particularly pass right under the World Trade Center there. Do you know? Do you have any update on whether those tracks are intact down there?
At this point, I don't have any first-hand knowledge of that, but I know that we have crews that are working with the city officials and stuff, and when it's deemed safe for us to be able to go down and check on the integrity of the tracks and the stations, etc., we will do that. But our primary concern was to be able to get train service and bus service out of that area in Lower Manhattan. We have put that service, as I mentioned to you earlier, we've got service restored down there. We have bus service down there, and in the other boroughs, it hasn't been affected other than for large traffic delays.
And you had enough warning on this that you didn't have trains in that area immediately under the World Trade Center towers at the time they collapsed. So you're not dealing with a situation where there were trains with passengers trapped in the area. They all managed to clear out of the area?
That's my understanding. Again, all of that for a definitive and final answer on that would have to wait, obviously, until we get down there. But shortly after the explosion, the service was stopped. However, all trains were brought into stations and passengers were discharged there. And again, it's a tribute to our customers at how orderly the process went and how understanding everybody was about it.
Tom, we talked a lot about subway service. Again, if you can recap for me, what's the status of bus service? Are you continuing to run that?
Yes, bus service is operating in Manhattan above Houston Street.
Tom,
Yes.
Tom, I'm sorry, I got to interrupt you. Mayor Giuliani is holding a news conference, so we'll let you go. Thank you, Tom.
Obviously, one of the most difficult days in the history of the city and the country. The tragedy that we're all undergoing right now is something that we've had nightmares about, but probably thought wouldn't happen. My heart goes out to all of the innocent victims of this horrible and vicious acts of terrorism. And our focus now has to be on saving as many lives as possible. We have hundreds of police officers and firefighters who are engaging in rescue efforts in Lower Manhattan. I want to thank Governor Pataghi for the incredible cooperation and coordination, and including deploying the National Guard that will be available to relieve our police officers and firefighters and emergency workers in the next couple of hours. The governor and I just spoke to the President of the United States. The coordination with the federal government from the time of the first attack has been excellent, including closing off the airspace around Manhattan and doing everything that can possibly be done in the face of this barbaric act to make the city secure. And we will strive now very hard to save as many people as possible and to send a message that the city of New York and the United States of America is much stronger than any group of barbaric terrorists, that our democracy, that our rule of law, that our strength and our willingness to defend ourselves will ultimately prevail. And I'd ask the people of New York City to do everything that they can to cooperate, not to be frightened, to go about their lives as normal. Everything is safe right now in the city, and the people who are doing the relief effort need all the help they can get. And then, Governor, thank you very much for your assistance and your help and your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, for your leadership through this crisis. This is a vicious attack upon New York. It's an attack upon America. It's an attack upon the whole concept of freedom and our way of life. and we cannot let these attacks succeed. The first step has to be to make sure we do everything in our power to protect the people and to save the lives of those whose lives are still at risk, and to help those who have been injured. And I want to commend the mayor, and I want to thank my colleagues from Connecticut, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and the federal government have all offered and made ready support to help us deal with this ongoing crisis. The people of New York are not only the freest and most diverse people in the world, we're also, I believe, the most capable of rising to meet the challenges of this type of attack. And right now we want New Yorkers to remain calm, to go about their business, to appreciate the fact that everything to provide for their safety is being done, to appreciate that everything that can be done to provide for the health and the needs of the people who are still at risk is being done, and that we will continue to work to make sure that we get through this as strongly and quickly as possible. I want to thank the federal administration. Secretary Thompson has been on the phone with me a number of times, as well as the president, for what they are offering and prepared to do. And we're just confident that, well, this is a horrible attack, and one that is despicable and really unthinkable in its magnitude. We will get through this, and we will continue to have a great and free country, state, and society.
Do we know the number of casualties at this point, sir?
I don't think we really want to speculate about that. The number of casualties will be more than any of us can bear ultimately, and I don't think we want to speculate on the number of casualties. The effort now has to be to save as many people as possible.
There are large
and I don't think we will know the answer to that until sometime tomorrow or the next day.
Were there large numbers of firefighters?
There are a large number of firefighters and police officers who are in harm's way, and we don't know how many we've lost. But there's no doubt we've lost some firefighters and police officers.
Do you know anything about the cause of the explosions that brought the two buildings down yet? Was it caused by the planes or by something else?
We
there a second explosion?
we believe that it was caused by the after effects of the planes hitting the buildings. We don't know of an additional explosion after that.
Could you tell us, do you expect any further attacks on New York? Is there anything to indicate that there could be more bombs, more planes out there? I know originally there was a report that 8 planes had been hijacked, 4 have only been accounted for. What about the remaining 4? And is there any possibility that there could be bombs on the ground planted by some?
We have no specific information to that effect. Obviously, the city is now closed. The airspace around the city is closed, and we are on heightened alert. But we have no specific information suggesting any further attack.
Can you tell us where the planes came from?
Warships coming into the port of New York?
I think to give the people of New York confidence, to show that the federal government is standing with us, and to just to make certain that nothing further happens. This has been a very, very difficult and traumatic day for the people of the United States and the people of the city. And I think that it's an act that shows that the federal government is going to do everything they can to support us and help us.
Can you give us an idea of the extent of the rescue effort that's going on right now in Lower Manhattan? The scope of this operation?
There are over 1,000 rescue workers, probably about 2,000 that are deployed, trying to get into the buildings, trying to find people, trying to search for people. The governor and I spoke a couple of hours ago, and the governor has deployed the National Guard to relieve them because our people are going to need reinforcements pretty soon. But right now they don't want to leave because they're searching for innocent citizens, and they're searching for some of their brothers and sisters.
Are you finding survivors?
Yes, we have some numbers that we can give you. We have 1,500 people at Liberty State Park who were evacuated, described as walking wounded. They were evacuated by ferry and other means. There are about 600 as of about 15 minutes ago in local hospitals that we account for. 600 people that are being treated in local hospitals, and there are 150 in particular that were critical, that were moved by EMS. New York City has 170 hospitals, so we have a lot of hospitals, and we're utilizing all of them. Probably the one that was the hardest hit was St. Vincent's Hospital, and I would like to just single them out and commend them, because as I was rushing down there after the first plane hit, and before the second, they were already deploying people on the street. I could see the doctors and nurses outside getting ready to receive people. And that was before the second plane actually hit the World Trade Center.
What was your experience down there?
Also blood donations. We have several sites for blood donations. 153 East 53rd Street, 66 in Amsterdam, which is the Red Cross, and 310 East 67th Street. If people want to do something and they can donate blood, that's going to help not just today, but tomorrow and the next day. This relief effort is going to take some time.
Mr. Mayor, you were one of the first people down there. Can you describe the scene in your own words, what you saw down there?
I don't know that I'm really able to describe it. It was the most horrific scene I've ever seen in my whole life. We saw the World Trade Center in flames, a big gaping hole all the way on the top of it. We could see people jumping from the top of the building. And then we went into Barclay Street, 75 Barclay Street, I think it was, and we were there when the building collapsed, and it collapsed in part on 75 Barclay Street. So we were trapped in the building for maybe 10 or 15 minutes, trying to get out different exits. And we finally went through a basement and came out 100 Park Place.
Did you ever fear for your own safety, sir?
Sure, yeah.
What went through your mind?
I don't think anything went through my mind other than making sure that we all remained calm and found an exit and just tried to figure out the most intelligent thing to do. Probably the same thing that went through the minds of 10,000 other New Yorkers who I could see on the streets, and I really have to commend them. If you really want to know what New Yorkers are all about, you just watch the way in which they handled themselves. They didn't panic. They moved deliberately. They moved swiftly. But they didn't hurt each other. They helped each other. I mean, these are just the most wonderful people in the world.
Do we know anything about the composition of that dust that blankets lower Manhattan? Is there any asbestos or any hazardous material in that dust?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to this.
Mr. Mayor, there were reports of a gas explosion related to this as well. Are you aware of that? There was a gas leak or possible explosion?
We don't believe it. We don't believe that's the case.
Mr. Mayor, can you tell us anything about where the planes come from, where the aircraft came from?
Bill Diamond reminds me that we've turned off the gas in the city buildings, just to be certain.
Can you tell us
as a precaution
where these aircraft came from? There was a report they may have been hijacked in Boston.
I think we should leave. I think we should leave that up to the federal government to yes, we do have some information, but I think we should leave that up to the federal government to release that information. Our focus is on the relief efforts. And
Governor, what about security for the rest of the city? Do you think there should be any retaliation on the part of the United States for what happened here in this country, both in New York, Washington, and other places?
First step right now, Marcia, is to make sure we do everything to help those people who need our support, and whether they're injured or still trapped in buildings. The second thing is to make sure at the same time we're providing the maximum security against possible additional incidents. But clearly, this is an attack upon America. It's an attack upon our freedom and our way of life, and we must retaliate and go after those who perpetuated this heinous crime against the people of America.
Mayor, this is compared to Pearl Harbor. Do you consider this to be an act of war? This has been compared.
I'll do both. I'll do both.
This has been compared to Pearl Harbor. Do you consider this to be an act of war?
This is a vicious, unprovoked, horrible attack on innocent men, women, and children. It's one of the most heinous acts certainly in world history. And as the governor said, and I said to the president, we fully and completely support him in any action that he has to take in order to make an example out of the people who are responsible for this.
Is it an act of war in your mind?
I don't know that I want to use those words. I think the president is the one that has to respond, and I think what he has to know is that all of us in New York support him, and support him completely in the efforts that he's going to have to make over the next couple of days, week, and to make a point that people can't do this. You can't attack innocent men, women, and children. And ultimately, I'm totally confident that American democracy and the American rule of law will prevail. And the people of New York are going to help to demonstrate that over the next couple of days.
Anybody take responsibility for this? Any group take responsibility at this time? And what is the city doing to safeguard the citizens now that something like this happens?
Well, first of all, I don't know of anyone that's taken responsibility for it at this time. And secondly, the New York City Police Department is fully deployed, not just in the rescue effort, but all throughout the city of New York, offering as much protection and as much security as we're capable of for the citizens of the city. And at this point, I believe that the people in New York City can demonstrate our resolve and our support for all the people that were viciously attacked today by going about their lives and showing everyone that vicious, cowardly terrorists can't stop us from being a free country and a place that functions, and we'll do everything we can to make that point.
Jennifer Steinauer, please.
Just a housekeeping thing. Can you tell us what's going to happen to the New York primary?
This morning I issued an order suspending the primary across the state. There will be no primary today, and we'll reschedule it once we get through this.
Jennifer,
Mayor, can you
please.
please walk us through the municipal services right now, what's going on with the subways and the schools, the courts?
The subway, the schools, the chancellor, I commend the chancellor. He was on the phone a number of times with us. He coordinated very, very carefully what would happen. He thought it out, and he came up with a very good plan, which was essentially to keep the schools open, to keep the children in school, so we didn't have a large number of children in the different boroughs that would be released from school. They're being released, I shouldn't say as normal, but basically on the normal schedule. If parents aren't there to pick up the young children, then the children will be taken to a center, and the parents will be notified to come and pick them up. The children who have Metro cards, who normally travel on the subway, will be able to do that. The subways are functioning in 4 of the 5 boroughs, and can we get an update, Joe, on how the subway is doing in Manhattan?
All the lettered lines are working.
And in Manhattan?
In Manhattan lines, all the lettered lines.
All the lettered lines are working, including in Manhattan. And throughout the rest of the city, public transportation is normal. So the children should be able to return from school in the normal fashion. And if any children don't have parents to pick them up, then we'll hold them, let the parents know, and then the parents can come and pick them up.
Mr. Mayor, you mentioned you were on Barclay Street. What's the radius of damage that's been affected? How many other side streets around the world?
I don't think we know yet. The whole area of Lower Manhattan has been very much affected by it.
How many police and fire are involved? Like how many all NYPD off-duty officers, as they come in, or like
all NYPD and FDNY officers are on duty now. And we're going to need all of them, and again, thanks to the governor and the way in which the state reacted, we will have 1,600 National Guard to relieve them over a period of time, so we can get some relief for them.
If anybody's looking for someone that may have been in the World Trade Center or in and around that area, what should they do? How can they get it?
We're going to give you numbers so that we can try to help coordinate that. Individual businesses have already done that, but we will as soon as we can find some time from the relief efforts, give you a number in which people can call, and then we can direct them to the right place.
The National Guard looting or anything like that? Any lawlessness?
There have been no reports of lawlessness, no reports of looting. As I said, we saw a lot of people that were part of the escape effort, and they seem to be conducting themselves in a very, very sensible way, a very deliberate way. They seem to be helping each other. So I don't think we have any reports like that at all.
So the only National Guard we'll see will be in Lower Manhattan, in the bomb site area. They won't be patrolling the rest of Manhattan.
No, the purpose of it is to help with the relief effort. We're gonna need the help of the state, surrounding areas with heavy-duty equipment.
When will they be arriving?
National Guard troops, some have arrived already, and we expect to have up to close to 2,000 between the National Guard and the state police by later this evening.
Mayor, bridges and tunnels will have to stay closed indefinitely?
I think everything is closed for now, and then maybe in about an hour or two we can give you an update on what the plan will be for tomorrow.
We saw a lot of lightly injured people walking out of the area because obviously the emergency services were needed for the very seriously injured. People covered with some people had difficulty breathing. Is there any health advice to give to people who were caught in this thing, who are not necessarily at risk of losing their life, but
I think obviously if you feel ill or you feel that you've been affected by it, you should go to a hospital and get checked out. But if it's just discomfort that you feel, then you can do basically what we did, was to wash our faces off and get rid of the clothes and get to an area where you can breathe in fresh air.
How many people were in the World Trade Center at the time of this attack?
I mean, it was business had already started. It was right before 9 o'clock. I don't know.
Tens of thousands?
Yes. Approximately. Someone just gave me a number of approximately 10,000, but that's a guess.
How long will the city remain on a heightened state of alert?
Until we're told not to. I mean, until the FBI and the police department and the federal government tells us that we shouldn't. Right now, the city is should be on a state of alert. Now, instead of frightening people, that should make people feel more confident that everything is being done to keep things secure. And again, let me emphasize that the reason for the National Guard, because I heard the question before, is to help with the relief effort, not because there's any fear of any other problems in the city right now.
How is the
Mr. Mayor, can you tell us about the other public areas, City Hall, One Police Plaza? When will it be safe for you to return?
I don't know yet. I don't know yet. Hopefully soon, but I don't know the answer to that.
And we heard reports that One Police Plaza was evacuated. Was that true?
No, the command center is open.
And it was never.
We have people in the command center right now.
Mr. Mayor, there have also been reports of large loss of life among the police and firemen who were sent there to rescue people. How accurate are those reports?
There is no question that we lost police officers and firefighters, and some that I know personally, and all of us here know personally, that we're very worried about. And we're not going to know the answer to that until much later. And maybe we should just close now and give you a briefing later. And I would just ask everyone, I talked to Cardinal Egan before, because he's at St. Vincent's Hospital. Everybody should in their own way say a prayer and ask God for help and for assistance, and also ask God to give us the strength to overcome this, because I know we're going to need strength to overcome it. And I want the people of New York to be an example to the rest of the country and the rest of the world that terrorism can't stop us. American democracy is much stronger than vicious, cowardly terrorists, and we're going to overcome this.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hold on, Mayor.
Do we know when the next briefing will be?
An hour and a half.
An hour and a half?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, Mayor Giuliani and the governor speaking to us at what I understand is an undisclosed location, as they have set up an emergency command center, and providing that briefing about the status of the rescue operations and exactly what is going on around the entire metropolitan area. And they will have another briefing in about 90 minutes, as we were hearing at the end of that.
I think he spent the bulk of his conversation reassuring New Yorkers that New York City is safe, and congratulating New Yorkers on their reaction, saying that they were sensible, that there were no reports of lawlessness and no reports of looting. He did say that the 1,500 to 1,600 members of the National Guard will be coming in, not because of an anticipated larger disaster, but simply to relieve those who are on duty now, because, as he said, all New York City police and firefighters are to be considered on duty at this time.
And on the topic of the death toll, the mayor was asked about that, says this is simply not a time when they have a sense of the number of people who might have been killed or the number of people who are unaccounted for at this point. He says perhaps tomorrow, perhaps the day after, as they attempt to get some sort of numbers there. There is just such massive destruction in Lower Manhattan that it's really just not something that they can deal with right now. He did say, though, that as the rescue operation was going on, because remember, as this played out, there were these two planes that were flown into the side of the World Trade Center, and at that point the instinct of the fire and police personnel is to move to the building to help the people there, and they were drawn toward the World Trade Center towers, not knowing that within half an hour the structures would be compromised to the degree that both of those towers collapsed. So Mayor Giuliani said that he is sure that there are fire and police personnel that have been lost, but does not have a number at this point.
Right. The closest he came to quantifying it in any way was to say that it was simply more than any of us could bear to know. And surely that is true. He spoke about this as a nightmare, a horrible and vicious act of terrorism, and said the current focus, as it should be, is on saving as many lives as possible.